addicts, I believe people with addictive tendencies are so powerful because they've been in such a state of lack and emptiness for so long that their container is massive, because the pain creates such a huge container for them to receive love and joy and direction. So they are the best healers because they can contain as much as the person they're working with can give them. They're like, I've experienced so much more than this. So they are, I believe that's the most amazing gift that I can give to the world. And I'm thankful for my addiction, and I'm thankful for everything that I've gone through and I'm going through now. And you know, I'm learning that it's not about being perfect. It's just about being inclusive of everything. To another level.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Student Spotlight with Luke Hawkins. My name is Callum Holt, and today we're joined by Ben McDowell, an absolute legend who has a history of alcohol use and has actually turned into a coach focusing on helping others to get free from the effects of alcohol. He's gone through pretty much all our programs that we offer, everything from neurotransformation therapy through to Ignite Love and Passion, 7-Figure Academy multiple times. And now he's in our Inner Circle program, absolutely dominating. And I really want to bring him on board to share his story and his success with you all. And hopefully he has some really great nuggets for you as well to take away and implement in your business today. So Ben, welcome to the podcast. If you could bring everyone up to speed with your story, what you were doing before coaching and why you got into coaching.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Very exciting times we're in. So I guess it would be important to have a little understanding about where I began. And I think like for everyone that ever goes into coaching, it never really begins when you go out there and ask for help. It actually, I think, begins years and years beforehand when you're actually going through all of the stuff, you know, all of the stuff that really like tears you down and when you get all of that conditioning as well and those protective layers layered on, that's when the desire actually begins, I think. So for me, I came from a really religious background. And I remember one moment specifically when I was about 15 or 16 and I was, you know, drinking a lot, like more than is fun. And I was smoking a lot and I was like just doing all these things that I probably shouldn't be doing. And I just had this moment where I was in the church, right? And I stood up in front of everyone and I was like, because they used to call for the experiences of the people that were gathered there, right? It was a very community-oriented church. And they said, okay, what's your experience? What is going on in life? And I said, look, I'm having a bad time and I am not living my full potential and I am going to do whatever it takes to become the man I know that I was born to be. Like I just stood up in front of all these people and they don't actually talk like this there. Yeah. They just usually stand up and just maybe just speak about just a few surface things or how they're not really doing well enough. And I just was like, that's enough. And I think like speaking in front of a group and just being accountable to that made it possible for me to really start the journey. So I continued, like, I got way deeper into addiction for the next 6 years. And I really went to the far out limits. And then when I was 21, when I was 19, I had this brain injury, right? And I just took like heaps of stuff that I shouldn't have. And I like passed out and I had this brain hemorrhage and I lost all my memories. And I had like no cognitive ability and I had to rebuild my whole brain. And so I pretty much rebuilt also part of my personality and I had to like rebuild the whole thing, right? So it took me about 2 years and then I went sober. And when I went sober, I just like one day, it was New Year's. I'd actually just got into like a fight with some random because I was so drunk. And I was like, that's enough. Like I cannot waste the rest of my life doing this stuff. So I just got sober and I reclused for about 6 months. Meditated, fire twirling, and I just did all of these amazing practices. And then I spent 5 years healing myself. And then about 12 or 13 months ago, now I've been sober 6 years, I went into this different mental state where I was like, okay, like I'm ready enough. Like I'm ready enough. Like I'm not 100% perfect, but I kind of am at a place where I accept my flaws like enough,
Yeah.
and like and I am enough, right? So I
Yeah.
was like, I had that idea, and I was like, okay, maybe I can start passing on a bit. And so I signed up with my first coach, who was amazing guy. He gave me like the certainty, and he put the certainty into me when I just didn't believe him. In some sessions, he'd be like, yes, Ben, you're doing really well. You can do this. I'm like, dude, I'm doing really bad. He's like, no, you're not. You're doing really good. And he just put the certainty into me.
Yeah.
And I just like took it to another level. I was just like, okay, wow, if I'm actually doing all right, I may as well bring a bit more in, right? And so all
Yeah.
of the energy that had come back from these addictions was started to be utilized in a really good way. And I just started, I started doing the posting. I started making Facebook Lives, really enjoyed it. I was like rapping online and singing and dancing online. I was like, what a mode of expression to use, like the online place to do that. And people were loving it because they were just loving someone being themselves, being real.
Yeah.
And so after that, I actually did Seven Figure Academy, and then I was like, okay, great, and just got all of the business stuff just loaded onto me. And I was like, that's what I needed. That's what I wanted, because I had all the energy, but none of the direction. I
Yeah.
had no direction. I had so much energy, and without the structure, that I was getting frustrated because I didn't know where to put it. Right. And with these systems, I was able to just funnel all of that energy that had come back out into like a really good outcome. And so I started working with people with addictions, got some people sober during COVID. And as I was starting to do that, I'd come back from Thailand, and I just literally had lost $30,000. I was broke, and I'd been saving up and working 7 days a week to save that money. I came back and I was broke. I'd lost it all. And I was like, great, I got to do something. I went to Seven Figure, and I put down money I didn't have, and I just went all in. And then I just made it all back in like 3 months afterwards. And I made like, I think a lot, like in 3 months. And just, I'm so thankful of putting myself in debt. Like no one would believe that, but the power of that is that you have to do what needs to be done. And then after you get out of debt, you actually have the capability to continue to replicate everything you did to get out of it, which was really beautiful. So I got heaps of people sober. They're all sober now. And now I just I'm training them to get other people sober. And that's my mission, is to get like everyone sober and out of the addictions that are holding them back. Like I want to get 1,000 addicts out of addiction. And I want to take just as much money away from the alcohol industry as possible. And the cigarette industry, I want to get all of that out of there, and I want to put it into the pockets of the people. I want to put it into the shift that's happening in the world, so that it's just not being wasted anymore. Because addicts, I believe, people with addictive tendencies are so powerful because they've been in such a state of lack and emptiness for so long that their container is massive, because the pain creates such a huge container for them to receive love and joy and direction. So they are the best healers, because they can contain as much as the person they're working with can give them. They're like, I've experienced so much more than this. So they are, I believe that's the most amazing gift that I can give to the world. And I'm thankful for my addiction, and I'm thankful for everything that I've gone through and I'm going through now. And I'm learning that it's not about being perfect. It's just about being inclusive of everything. So
Right. I love that, man.
You've been helping me heaps, and I'm so appreciative of all of the patience and the energy you guys put in. It's like amazing. It's so good.
No, it's always a pleasure. Especially, I know for myself and the team, it's like our biggest thing. We'll always give like unlimited support to, especially the people that are like taking action. That's the biggest thing. It's like, it brings us so much joy to see and experience and support those people that are out there, making a difference.
And there's been times when I remember there's been times I have been struggling like hardcore, even last week, right? And I just, if this is going out to YouTube, I want to send a message to say that like it doesn't always feel amazing. Like it actually brings you in contact with everything you deny in yourself, and it allows you to overcome it. That's why I started this, was so that I could heal all the limitations inside myself and just unleash and just be myself in all contexts. And that means like when I'm feeling not so good, I'm showing up online. When I'm not feeling that good, I'm showing up with clients and I'm speaking to what's real. I'm not teaching them how to be fake. I'm teaching them how to be authentic.
There's so much in there I want to dig into, but I you know, and with these podcasts, they're often kind of, as I said before, and they kind of go a little bit rogue. And I want to ask you that question because I personally want to know the answer too. Is like, how do you deal with? I'll start this question in a different way, right? At one point in time, because my background before all of this was, 10 plus years ago now, my girlfriend at the time, she committed suicide. And that was like kind of a very dramatic start to my journey in this kind of space. That, I was the one that discovered her body and had to deal with that. And at one point in time, I thought about going into the space of helping people to recover from the grief of losing someone close to them being bereaved by suicide. Because there's absolutely a culture in that space of you never get better. And I don't believe that's true, because I have experienced something outside of that. The question I have for you around that is like, some of your clients, if not all your clients, I'm sure, have a lot of like emotional hecticness, we'll say. I'm not even sure that's a word, but
fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Like emotional hecticness going on.
How do you deal with it, right?
Yeah. How do you deal with that as a coach? How do you keep going? How do you not get overwhelmed?
Like there is actually one really, really good technique that I discovered really early on, which I don't know if it's actually well known, but I reached it by I had been in this really massive block with someone that I was working with, and I was feeling actually a lot of judgment for them and I was at effect of their pattern. Like I was not at cause, and I wasn't in the mindset of, I tried a few things and I was like, I can't help them. And then I was like, that's not an option because they've paid. That's not an option to not help them. It's not an option to blame. Like now you got to be a master. You got to be masterful. So I did a masterful thing and I said, okay, what do I need? Right now I need a connection with them. I need closeness, because when there's a connection, there's trust. And when there's trust, there's change. So when I realized that, I just said, okay, what would it be like to be in their mind? Like, what would it be like to live as them? What would I be thinking about myself to make them resist this work? What would I need to be experiencing? And I put myself in their shoes. And as I was speaking to them, I would imagine I was them talking to themselves, but with me there too. And so because I was able to go inside their mind and their psyche as me with the answers I have and the questions, they don't have these answers, right? So I took myself inside their mind and there was no separation. And I was just speaking to the place at the deepest possible level while I was in these sessions with them. And because they felt me there at the deepest place where they didn't have support and they were so fearful, they felt me there on some level, I'm sure, and they let it go, because they were like, I realized all they need to know at any point is that you care, you're there, and you're not going to leave them when they most need you.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, they just want to know that you're going to look after them and they can actually, and that it's safe for them to like start to let it go just enough, just loosening the grip enough, just so that you can slide it out, the problem. And then you can like put something better in there. And then they'll just walk away forever without needing it. And if it fits well, the new thing you put in there, they'll never pick up the old problem again, right? But they just need to know that. It's so important. Yeah.
How does that help you? How does that protect you in terms of, I remember this back when my ex, Sarah, I used to have this real challenge when I was dating her when she was alive of getting like, she was obviously mentally very unwell. And I felt my own mental health like go down south by just so much like spending a lot of time with her and around that negativity and around that energy. How do you like keep your energy good and keep your mindset healthy when dealing with people that at least start off in a pretty negative mindset?
Yeah, well, it's different if it's a partner, right? Because like if I'm with my partner, then they come into a different place entirely. Like my clients and I don't go into that place. Like, and I'm with a partner, I've let them in so deeply inside myself, them and all of what they are. Like with a client, I'm more going into them, right? Like I don't think about, they're not coming into my deepest place. So with a partner, it might be a bit different. And I'm not an expert on relationships, but I think like with clients, like it's the same level, is that maybe they just maybe it's just about boundaries. It's about keeping the same consistency, and just as Luke actually taught me, is project ultimate self onto them. Project ultimate self. Like when they come to me and they tell me what their goals are and who they need to be, and I ask them like, who do you need to be to have this life? As soon as they tell me that, that's all I'm focusing on. And the moment that drops is the moment that the possibility comes that they won't have the results. Until that point, they are only going to get the results. And any behavior, any word, I'm calling it out. Anything that's not in alignment with that thing, I'm calling it out straight away. And that's how I just put the responsibility completely onto them. But then if I see they're not getting the results, I will call it out. Like I'm not going, the responsibility is there, but it's still my job to like call that out, because if they don't get the results, sure, like it's not my fault, but I have let them down in a way, right? So I need to, and I know that the only reason they wouldn't get the results is because I felt something was off and I didn't speak to it. I didn't trust myself, right? So that's where it comes from for me, and that's how I keep my energy clean. Is because if there's things I haven't spoken in any relationship, if there's things you haven't spoken, you're funneling energy into that place for maintenance. Like it's like dark chords. Like with clients, these dark chords can come a lot because they throw them out because of their problem. Is it needs energy to exist, and they're not giving the energy enough, and they suck the energy. That problem sucks a lot of energy. So as the therapist, they're going to try and put these hooks into you, because then they can have an experience of, I went to the therapist and it couldn't change, right? And then it's my identity and nothing can help me, right? They want that, because then everyone's going to believe them, and the problem can suck all of the energy out of everyone in the world. And then it's going to be like so strong, right? So that's how I see it. I say, no, you can't because that shit does not fly here. You have paid how much money, right? Like that's not happening here. But I say it like with love, but sometimes I do say it with power too, right?
Totally. Yeah. So you hold them, especially in your mind, you hold them to that standard of who they want to be rather than who they are.
That's right. And have been. Like it's so not about, it's so not important, like who they've been. And they love that, because their soul wants to get out. Like their soul wants to get out. But so they know everything. They have all the answers, and none of it comes from me, right? And as soon as I feel like this work makes me trust myself, because as soon as I feel that I'm responsible, I just push the envelope back, right? Then they can take it. They can take the reins. But yeah, it's also an evolving process. I'm always slipping into that, like being at effect and feeling like I'm responsible for the change. I'm always falling into that, but it's about the refractory period and making that really short.
As in the time from slippage to coming back to the truth.
The time from being being the coach to being a part of the problem, like the time that I'm spending at effect to their problem, it's about making that really small. Because I found that if I'm trying to prevent myself from falling there, then I'm in reaction and avoiding that. And then I avoid a lot of things. But sometimes I just let myself go there for a moment. And then I'm like, okay, let's go back. And then knowing that I can exist in that really dark place and pull myself out at any point, it actually is, it's really empowering.
Oh, that's such an interesting, this is such a different student spotlight to all the others, and it's amazing. I was just reflecting on that, in my own world, and it's probably valuable for people. I guess through my coaching journey and thinking about going into the suicide space, part probably for myself there, that the fear of that is, as a coach, is like fear of me trying to help these people. Sometimes there's a fear there that I'll get pulled down back into who I used to be, and I imagine that would, in the world of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
I guess there's that reflection.
I regularly get cravings for what my clients are trying to quit, right? Because new parts of myself are coming up that I haven't dealt with yet.
Yeah.
There's been times when I've been in sessions, it's never come up for alcohol, but it has come up for cigarettes and sometimes other drugs, right?
Yeah.
I felt the craving, and then I've been and I've just had this flash of imagining I've just had 50 cigarettes in one, and there's that whole, and I was like, whoa. And I realized that I was getting probably a bit, I was either going into the session not being primed with my energy, and I was a bit open too much in the wrong ways. So I would just learn from that and make sure I have plenty of sleep, make sure I have, I've started my day off knowing who I am and closing the container on who I am. And that's super important, because if I'm speaking to dozens of people a day sometimes, right? And you have to have the container closed as who I am. Who is Ben? And Ben is closed in his identity, and he's giving the guy in the 7-Eleven when he's selling something, he's giving from that window, right? Yeah. But you can't come in to where he is. He's just giving from that place. It has to be safe.
Yeah. I'd love to go into that. In terms of your rituals to, I wouldn't just say start the day right, but your rituals when you're dealing with people that are, we'll keep using that word, emotionally hectic.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it works, doesn't it?
Right. About the rituals that you have in place each day or week or month or whatever it is to keep really grounded in who you are and your place on earth and grounded in your soul and your spirit and your heart. Talk on that.
It takes a gargantuan effort sometimes, right? So I think I've definitely, we underestimate how much negative messages there are coming in, and especially in this current world, right? And especially when there's not a lot of transference of our experiences with others in a really holistic way, there's no physical connection, right? So a lot of us are alone in our experiences. So you can think about it like the Dead Sea, right? As a coach, you're almost like a Dead Sea, and you've only got this one, sometimes you've only got this one valley of this one source of input, and it's from people that have a lot of problems, right? And a lot of troubles. And so you're just containing and containing and containing. So you got to pull the plug out, if there was a plug on the sea, right? You got to pull the plug out numerous times a day. And I also think about it on terms of it's if I have to make sure that I'm here, so that, and I'm always here, ideally always here. I maybe go a bit, but I never come down here, because it's too easy for me to go there and get lost. I have to be here. So I prime myself using, what do? I kind of make sure either I take 5 really deep breaths, slow deep breaths after sessions. Before sessions, I'll do Tony Robbins priming. There's a technique called priming, but in NLP, we just call it anchoring. So I maybe do some anchors, which is a stimulus response for breaking any negative state, and you just get into your flow. I do some of that, and just something to break the state. It doesn't have to be those things. It's anything to break the state. So, and it's something that should make you feel powerful. So if you sprint around the block, or you sprint for 500 meters, or you go outside and you just scream I'm a beast, I'm amazing, I'm a king, and just obliterating all of that debris that has come, right? And just sitting back in the throne inside, like,
Yeah.
because you can just easily become this decrepit, overwhelmed mess, and you just take every day, and every day is adding more of that, and you're like, I can't do this anymore, and so you bring less of yourself into each day, and more of the like reasons why I can't do this, it's too much. And I think this is so important to talk about, because like so many of us like do feel like this quite often, right?
Yeah.
And there's all this stuff online that we never have problems, but people, like humans, like coaches are humans. If anything, like we are, it's like we have been through a lot usually, like, and that's why we came into this alternative therapy, right? So that's what I do. I do that. I have a freezing shower, or I get in an ice bath. That would be the best thing to do.
Is that like post session?
That will be at any time, like any time. That's like a cure-all for everything. Like probably have a workout in the morning and do a freezing bath or a cold shower, and then I'll have and then maybe after a long day I'll do one. I only have cold showers here because I don't have the ice bath yet, but I'm making it a priority and I'm getting it. I personally do martial arts, and I get the anger out, right? Because the judgment is just undealt with anger. So, and any kind of lack of relatability is usually there's some form of anger or frustration. And what anger is, I believe, is to put distance between you and pain, and you and fear and hurt. So like, if I can get rid of all that anger, then I can start to feel more. And through the feeling, I can decrease the negative input that's coming, because it's only ever a result of where I'm at emotionally.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's like I every now and then through this, I'm like, I'm forgetting that we're recording. I'm like,
yeah, this is great. You're a great interviewer. I'm really enjoying this.
no, look, it's funny. I don't even call myself like, the fact that I get paid to do this, so to speak, is great. I love it, because I like get to learn some, really cool stuff. And I spend so much time, especially in my role with Luke, of like kind of helping other people, that it's really nice to like ask some questions and say, well, what's the stuff that you do?
Yeah, that's true. It's good. It's like a mastermind. In the book Think and Grow Rich, I've read, it's like have a mastermind. So like you learn from people that, and I think that's also essential. Having like a group of people that like they're going through the same stuff, and you just hear them like sharing, like they're in a circle, right? Like I've heard many people having breakdowns, having a hard time. And then just, I hope Luke has an inner circle, because he's just like a rock solid force, or maybe he's just unlocked that part of himself. But yeah, like I'm sure everyone has them, right? And I think it's so important to have that, because the group comes towards like, and it's held by one person, and that one person goes to another group, and it actually wouldn't and shouldn't and couldn't end. I think that's so important that people have that, because we can feel very alone in our experience, right? We can feel very alone, and I think the aloneness is it's crippling. It's one of the most dangerous things about this work. Like, if you're ever feeling alone, don't wait, just gravitate to other people that can help,
mate.
Right? Don't wait, gravitate. Just have to go to people, and you have to let it out. Like, let it out. Go and scream in the forest or something, or let it out. You're a human being. You gotta allow.
We're gonna have to make that the new tagline for Inner Circle.
Yeah. Don't wait, gravitate. Yeah, you can.
Coaches, feeling alone? Don't wait, gravitate to the lines in a circle.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So I think that's super important. Just being with others, like, not isolating. And there's also like just the amount of overwhelm that is apparent here, right? Have a very clear game plan. And the game plan has to come from what you want to serve. Like I have been through times, like even recently, right? And we were chatting about it. Yeah. I didn't know, I forgot why I was doing this. And I was like, I remember why. I had some reasons, but the deep, passionate reason, right? And it connected with where I had come from, and it creates so much energy. And it creates heart energy. It creates like the whole self is backing you. And you're like, I don't care what the response is. Right? The only thing I care about the response is how to refine it from not being the same next time, and how to lift it. That's the only reason I care about the return of information. So it's just beautiful. You've got to have that. You've got to have an understanding of why you're doing this, and then map out even just the next 6 months. Like, I don't think when you're first starting, you need to know the next 10 years, right? Just the next 6 months, and who you're serving and why you're serving them and why it's so important. And having like a few really strong goals, right? Like, just, I want either to give $500,000 back to these causes, or I want to put, I want to get my parents out of debt, right? Whatever these are various things people have, but those will fuel you. Like, they've picked me up from the ground so many times. And when I'm on that ground, it actually just gets worse when I don't do anything. It gets worse until I either quit or I do the thing that I was dreading. And like, because of these reasons, I can't quit. I'm not allowed. That cannot happen. It doesn't exist unless coaching becomes illegal, which then I'll just probably, I don't know, do it in another way or some other way. I don't know. But, you know, like, it can't happen. It's not possible. Because it's not possible, then I'm like, all of my energy is there. And you need all that energy available, because like, when you're becoming more than you have been, you can't be feeding into who you have been, trying to, like, out of safety, out of wanting to be safe and secure. You can't. You have to, like, bring it all those insecurities, everything with where you're going. You gotta bring that. So I think that's so important. That's more important than any of the priming, any of the cold showers, anything else. Like, so much more important. And then just going over it every 6 months to a year. How did I go? How did I go? How did I go? And always reflecting.
I think that's a really important point, is like, as you go through as well, like through life and through your journey, your you know, we'll call it like your why will evolve and change.
Yeah.
And it's important to, I think I said this to you the other day, I think it was you during that call, that, you know, to be constantly in business, like constantly reevaluating and going over and getting deeper on your niche and your ideal client. And it's not just like a once-off process. The more detail and understanding you have around that and the emotions in it and everything, the better.
Yeah, full on, for sure. I definitely believe in that, because when I've let go, the moments that I've let go of the why and who I'm serving are the moments when it just all turns to crap, right? Like, it literally does. And you just have the same amount of energy going out, but it's not landing anywhere, because you don't have any destination for it. It's just like, oh, okay, today I'll message this many people. Oh, today, and then maybe I'll do some other things, like reach out for some joint ventures. But like, none of that is, like, the goal has like 1,000 pieces, and every piece is required to make that goal happen. But if I'm just putting pieces on like some big empty area, then they're never going to connect, and they're going to be in the wrong place. But this needs to be in the right sequence. Sequential order is so important. And that's not to be afraid of, right? That's actually such a thing of safety, of assurance, that my efforts are going to yield, right? And I'm just putting them all, like when you make the puzzle, you put them in random places, but then you start to see them linking up, and you just rearrange, and then they just land. And only in that landing moment, you actually realize it all was going to work. And I can't believe I didn't think it was going to, and all of that, you know, like all that stress. Why did I bother? Why do I always beat myself up? Like, it's amazing. Like, I'm here and I've arrived. And then, like, it's like the next puzzle, and you just replay that whole thing again, and you just go through that whole thing. And eventually, after you do that a few times and you arrive at your outcome, you just let go of that whole story of, oh, it might not work, it might not do this or that. It becomes so much more minimized, right? But because context is way larger for the bigger goals, it can easily come back and swarm you. So I think, like, the larger the goals, the more planning. And if you don't have time for planning, get someone else in to help you to plan.
Yeah. So I'd love to go in that as well. Like, at the start of your coaching journey, you know, have you been an overnight success, mate? Or, you know, what's been your coaching journey?
Yeah, well, like, I guess, like, I did pretty well from the start, I guess, because I kind of went from 0 to 100 straight away, and I was so ready and rearing and ready to go, because I was surrounded by people that were doing really well. And I was like, okay, like, that's the standard now. I've got to do it. But I think like, yeah, the first month I ever coached, I had one client for a 6-week program. He got great results. He ended up coming on for 2 actually, and that for 2 sessions, for 2 cycles, and that was really good. Then I made no money. I had no clients for a month, and then I signed on to 7-Figure Academy, and it was like prosperity, prosperity, prosperity the whole way, right?
What was the difference for you? I'd love to know, not just to spruik 7-figure, but also to hear like the changes there in terms of for your business on what you got clear on, and what went from 1 or 2 clients to, okay, let's ramp this bad boy.
Yeah, you're right, because like the information is there. The only thing that Luke's really good at getting all the right information in the same place, but there's all that information's out there. So it was cause and effect, right? The first thing was like getting clear on cause and effect, and where am I sitting on that scale at every moment, no matter what is going on out there. When am I sitting on cause and effect? It was that, and it was tracking everything. Like the act of tracking made all of the self-doubt disappear overnight, because I could see clearly what was actually real. It was all in front of me. And then people say consistency, but I think consistency just comes from having a really strong reason why you're doing it. To focus on just being consistent is actually, I think, is not possible, to just try and be consistent without knowing why. But and then anchoring into the goal, like every single morning I would be anchoring into the vision, and I would just anchoring into it emotionally, and I would break any thoughts open by anchoring back into the vision and reinstating the person I wanted to become, and clearly mapping out what behaviors and thoughts I run that don't belong in my future, and I have them on my wall. And so I anchor into this new self every morning, because I know that for me to have that certain outcome, I have to be a vibrational match for it. Otherwise, life won't give it to me, because I'm not deserving of it, right? I have to show that I am like grateful for it and appreciative, and that I deserve it. So that's it. Like those are the 3 things. And since I did that, whenever I'm doing those 3 things, I'm good. I'm ace. Like I'm up. But if I'm not even one of them, then massive risk. Why would we put it to chance, right? Like, of all the effort we put in, all the energy, why would we not spend 10 minutes every morning doing this? And there was one more thing. I practicing like the most important skill that I'm trying to master for 30 minutes at the beginning of each day. And that's it. Practicing that skill 30 minutes of each day, first thing in the morning. So it's crisp in my conscious mind. And for the whole day, I'm like using that a lot. So it was sales when I first started, 30 minutes a day, an hour a day. And then I journal, and I just kind of journal about how I was going to be in that day, and painting out what kind of person I want to be, what kind of responses I'm going to have, and then just future pacing myself to the max. And at the end of the day, just dumping all that out and just opening the trap door. And I'm just like, it's done. Like it's finished. I did so well. What did I do really well? And I'm not thinking about what can I improve on. I'm just thinking, what did I do really well? Because it's just about restating the positivity and keeping it there, right?
Totally.
Closing the space. So you've got to close each day, every day.
Yeah.
Cut yourself off from each day as you pass through it and take the learnings.
Yeah. I love that. I just noted that down. I think that's golden. It's something I haven't heard anyone else so far speak about on this, about practicing that skill for 30 minutes in the morning.
Yeah.
The only other person I've heard speak about this so far is I'm reading a book at the moment by Brendan Burchard. That's probably not how you say his name, but anyway, it's high performance habits. And he talks about this, about one of the key things that high performers do is they look at, if I remember this correctly, is they look at the area of their interest, right, in life, the personal area of their interest. And then they think about, okay, where's it going to go over the next 5 years? And what skills do I need to develop in that area to become world-class at that in 5 years?
That's right, man. I just bought like 20 books about specific areas, and I learned I just signed up for this course, but with Jim Quick, to read really quickly so I can learn it, right?
It's good.
I don't know. I haven't started it yet, but it's a good idea. Like to be able to intake the knowledge, you're exactly right. Brendan Burchard's great. So yeah, I think it's so much about that. It's about just having the skills, because as the leader of the coaching business that you have, like you like, I've really learned, especially from Luke and some others, that you're not training to be the best at one thing. You're at like, you know, sales, or at like content writing. You actually want to be training to lead. And so to be training to be a leader, you want to train to be good at communication. And you want to be really, really, really good at training to be good at communication. Like that would be the number one thing. If you can master communication, then you've got everything else. Because then your copy's good, your sales are good, your energy's good, you know what's going to fit well where it's needed, and it's everything else follows. So I got all these books about that, which I'm going to sink my teeth into, and yeah, it'll be unrecognizable in 2 months.
Yeah. Oh, bro, I love
it.
Yeah, that's so. I love hearing that in terms of just that passion and hunger. That's the right word for like intaking new ideas and knowledge. And it's like it kind of reflects back to what you were saying earlier. About like kind of mastermind and all that. And sometimes I'm messaging people and they're like, oh, I'm already coaching someone. Right. And I'm like, just because you're coaching with one person, there's not some rule in the universe that says you're not allowed to get help from anyone else.
And what about it like that?
It's like, you'd be surprised how many people like say that to me.
Like, it's like they're the romantic partner.
like you're cheating on them or something. And like, you know, hopefully Luke doesn't mind me saying this, but like, yeah, like I've done training with like plenty of other people than Luke. Obviously, you know, I love the work Luke does, otherwise I wouldn't work with him. But yeah, at the same time, there's so much value in taking in from other people. And us personally, like I think we're getting help at the moment from 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd say 4 to 5 different companies are helping us out.
That sets the tone for me. I'm like, okay, let's step it up a bit.
Because like, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
And like there's areas that we aren't, like we're only, you know, average at or not great at. And, you know, yeah, we're always trying to get better. And not just that, but it's also like our inner circle people. We're always like working on giving you guys more, like, you know, more tips, more help, more like helping you go to that next level. And that demands us to be taking ourselves to the next level.
That's exactly why I love coaching people in their businesses, because it actually, as you say, demands you to learn more, and you can't go into the comfort zone. You have to keep growing. So I think, like, to be honest, once I advise most people when they're early on in their coaching, once they've gotten consistent results with people, I would suggest taking on a few new coaches or people that are wanting to start coaching, and just take on a few one-on-one people, because you will notice the gaps in your congruency and your application and what you're not living in your own business. Like, I was taking on business coaching clients. I took on someone that had been a few years in coaching, and I was only 2 months into it, and she was, and I helped her a lot. Like, and I just shared with her what I knew, and she was like, wow, that's incredible. So even people that are further down the line than you are, like, the longer you have been in coaching is no indicator to how good of a coach you are, or how efficient you are, right? Or how prepared.
And you can, this is a personal belief I have anyway, is like everyone you encounter in life that you can learn something from. Like, it doesn't matter, like dump truck driver, homeless person, you can learn something from that person.
Yeah. And you can see it from like this level, which, like with the dump truck driver guy, right? He could teach me something about dealing with something that's another garbage related thing that isn't physical garbage, like emotional garbage. I see him throw it in the truck, throw away my emotional garbage. Just take it in different contexts, right? It's like the ultimate reframe. Like, in that way, if I see life like that, I can literally just learn anything from anyone, anything, and everything is a master teacher, right? And that's exactly right.
Yeah, 100%. I like it's something every now and then I share this with people. Like, there was a period of time in my life that obviously it wasn't intentional, but I actually became homeless.
Yeah.
And it was an odd situation because I had money, so to speak. Not, wasn't, rolling in it. And I also had a car, right? Like it wasn't like totally like I was on the streets, but I had an interaction with a housing situation that didn't go very well, and ended up on me not having access to that house, very very abruptly and suddenly, and I was legit like homeless for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And there's problems about being homeless that you learn solutions for that you never think about.
Wow. Like what?
Things like like showering is definitely a thing. Learning about where like toilets are.
How freeing is that though? Like I've had this experience as well, being like choice by choice homeless. Like it's very freeing. I went hitchhiking up to the coast to Queensland, and I was just by choice. I had like some money, but I was just like, I want to experience what it's like without any of this life stuff. So I hitchhiked all the way up to like 2,000 Ks, and I just like got into random people's cars, and everyone was like, you're going to get killed, you're going to be like raped and stuff, and you're dead. But I was not. I was fine. Like, and I was like, you guys don't know what life is about, and you probably have never done this. Like, so I think everyone that watches this should never think that anyone, like, watch who you take advice from, like, watch who you take guidance from, because most of the time the people that are knocking what you want to do have never even tried it. They've never done it. They are going off what other people have said about something that even those people have never done. So sorry to interrupt, but I felt really compelled.
No, I couldn't agree. When it comes to advice, I couldn't agree more with that. It's I think advice is really interesting. And it's so contextual. It's so contextual, and what I mean by that is, like, I'll use an example. Like I've recently put down, committed to purchasing a property in Victoria, and some people in my family have already purchased properties, and there was some advice that was coming from them, and one piece of advice from a family member. They're in a very different stage of their life, right, in their investment journey. And it's hectic, especially selling a property, I feel like, which is like everyone has an opinion.
Yeah. And it's like always, especially when it's unsolicited advice. Like I was reading this book recently.
Control.
I think it's Think and Grow Rich as well. He says, watch out for any unsolicited advice. Like when you didn't ask for the advice, watch what the sponsoring thought is, or watch what the person's agenda is, because it's generally not, if it's unsolicited, then it's not usually for your positive good.
Totally. And for me, it was potentially interesting for people is I actually made the decision to put a bit more faith and trust into the people I was working with to get the investment property, the company. And part of the reason for that is I kind of have this belief that if you're paying people money or they're receiving money for that service, right, then their best interest is that you get a good result. Right. And like you can reflect on this as a coach, right? Is like, especially high ticket, you want your clients to win.
You bloody do. You bloody hope they do.
like it's same for us, right? Like this is totally just, out there, black and white. We want our students to make coin and to win, because then we're generally quite likely to be able to use them as a testimonial to help more people.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So we actually, like, with that being said, like, we generally will go out of our way to help people win more and more.
And you know what's beautiful is that whenever I've had someone that's gone downhill, like say they started and they did well, but they went down, this does happen. Like sometimes I kind of just say, well, in about a year's time, I'm going to use this to really I'm going to use this as a really powerful success story, that whole dip and come up. So I'm going to really put myself into this and over deliver, because what that will create is massive momentum in the long term. And I think the temptation is to actually just blame them and just let them go,
Really?
and just say, oh, it's their fault. But actually putting in that extra effort, and just all it takes sometimes is one reframe, like reframing one of their thoughts or questioning one of their things, which can change the whole trajectory of their pattern. And that pattern, it's never your fault. It's been there for a long time, but it is something you can change, like as a coach, and just being curious and playful with the whole process.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I've got to kind of spin this around and get going, in the right direction. And what advice, I mean, you're still a new coach, so to speak. I'm sure you feel like you're still a new coach.
Yeah, always, hopefully, always. I'll feel like a new coach.
Yeah. What advice would you give, I guess back to your, past self / to new coaches, when they haven't even got any clients, right? And it's that, especially that stage of 0 to 1 client.
The hardest
bit.
That is literally the hardest place for anyone.
Yeah.
My gosh, my heart goes out to everyone that is in that place, because that place can last a day or it can last like 10 years. And it is so the place you want to get out from, because your dream of becoming a coach is never going away. And if you, the more time you put in the way of getting this first client, the less you love yourself. Because if it is so unloving to leave yourself in that place of anguish and not listen to yourself, and the cost is massive. So I think the best thing you can do is just to have mercy on yourself and go all out. And no matter how uncomfortable it is so much less painful to do that than it is to stay in fear and deny what you really want.
Yeah.
That is the single most powerful thing. And then I think just go easy on yourself. Do so many loving things, lavish out, or do a lot of care, have a lot of care for yourself, see your friends, and just remember that because you're entering a world of unlimited prosperity and unlimited growth, that there is no end. So you're not, as you told me when my first day of Inner Circle, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And that's the thing that goes on. A lot of people say that, right? Treat it like it's a marathon, and just chunk down one thing at a time, just one thing. And the income goals are just secondary, because when I have focused on just the income goals, I get a massive, there's dark energy that can come, and it can really exploit the insecurities inside a person when they just focus on that, because money is survival. So you want to be focusing on things that are thriving, those upper tiers are human connection and service and contribution. That is, when you have those, the money will flow abundantly. So I think how can I get better at doing these things is really important in those first times. Calling bullshit on your patterns. I really did that intensely. I was doing that up to 15, 20 times a day in my first couple months. And I was just any thought I had that wasn't in alignment with my goal, it may be a bit brutal for some people. They don't want to get this extreme, but it was what was required. So I did it. I was just bullshit, get out. I am going there. If you don't like it, you're out. You got to go. Just to these thoughts, right? Direct confrontation with the thoughts, questioning and pushing back, really pushing back onto them and pushing them into a place where they would serve me. So now they're there as a background thing where they can push me to do more. But when they get to that melting point, then they start stepping into the steering wheel position. It's really you don't want to let that happen. So let them just be a motivator. Let them be the guys that are rowing underneath, right? That's what they should be.
Yeah. Do you think your martial arts practice has helped that a lot too, in terms of taking control of your mental?
Oh yeah, heaps. With the anger. Yeah, I started about 6 years ago when I went sober. I went to my first kung fu class, and my teacher, my sifu, he went he just showed me a level of easy kind of like living, which I have never experienced before. But he had so much passion, you would not believe. He was so full of red hot fire, but he was just so, he just had like the passion with the calm. And I was like, this is like a well-rounded person. So I think like, yeah, the martial arts is important, especially, for women is very important, but for men is extremely important because we come from like a hunter background. Like we need to be getting that energy out. We have a deep desire to destroy. And that
Totally.
is so important for people to come to terms with. Men need to come to terms with this because it's not attractive right now. It is just a fashion thing. It's not attractive. It's not cool. It's like disregarding everyone else. That means you don't care. But like, if you shove that down, you are putting down, when you express that, you become so much more powerful, right? And you're just going to step on people's toes. Like you just got to be there with them afterwards so that you're there and you're not avoiding it, right?
Yeah. I've heard some great things. Like, I mean, so many, really big players in the coaching space and business space, rave about, a practice of martial arts being, really transformative.
Yeah. Laying into something or, but with someone, but it's like the energy is directed inside yourself still. It's not trying to get a hit in or win at like never sacrificing. We say in martial arts, you never sacrifice the far from the near. So if I ever overextend my arm, it could be broken. I always save a little, right? I'm always within my own space and I'm never overextending so that I can reach that thing. And coaching is like, it's full of golden droplets everywhere. And you just really want to like overextend for each one. And in the end, you just get so fatigued and you've got to stay in your space, and then you just let them kind of fall into your hands and you just prime yourself, get your energy up, and it all just comes to you anyway, right? But it's patience.
Yeah.
So much about the patience. Yeah.
That's such an interesting and amazing metaphor. And I think that's why I'm really interested in martial arts, because I think it's a really powerful tool to teach you a lot of like deep personal, spirit lessons using, and I think often probably in that space, like you really get the lesson through like a level of like quick physical pain, in terms of being like, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah, that's right.
And sometimes like that's like, it's such a good analogy what you're using before, in terms of, sometimes you just need that quick feedback of just like, not that one.
Yeah.
Not that bit.
That's right. Like sometimes you got to just yield and sometimes you got to go forward, but you got to be receptive to what's in front of you. You got to be receptive towards and look directly. Like we're trained to never look away if you're going forward. And I think some motivational guy said, if you're looking back as you're looking forward, you'll break your legs or something, right? So it's like something like that, right? I think it was that guy who
Jim Rohn or someone.
Not Jim Rohn is amazing, but it was some other guy. But he was saying like never do that, because you're just putting risk in you're putting a lot of risk. So yeah, always yield when you feel there's an overwhelming force. You got to yield and then use the energy and use their energy back at them. So when there's a resistant client, I'm like, cool, where am I being rigid? How can I like relax what I'm doing and guide them around and back and get all of their energy to go back into that resistance in another direction? So that's huge about martial arts. It's like you take all of that energy and you put it back into the place, right? And that's it. But it takes very calm, very assertive, very relaxed, and you take it and you're always protecting yourself while you're doing this. You're never open in order to like do that. You've got to let go of you got to know the outcome and then let it go. And then you're just waiting for the opening, right?
Yeah. Man, I can like totally, there will be so many parts of your martial arts practice that would show up in your business, I imagine.
Every single part. And the guy that plays Iron Man, he's big in the same martial art, Wing Chun. And I feel like that is he said that's a massive part of his success, was because of that. Yeah, and there's no such thing as steamrolling ahead all the time. Like it's not a thing. Like you'll run over your opportunities as well as you'll run over your problems. So like if you can really like be calm with that, be collected, and just move, better to move slowly and consistently than sprint for 5 yards, collapse, sprint for 5 yards, collapse, right? Your nervous system will give up. You'll get burnt out hardcore from that. And what's the point of doing this if you're just burnt out and unhappy, right?
Totally, 100%. Oh, mate, we could, I feel like we could just keep going all afternoon. I have a series of rapid fire questions that are, well, I say rapid fire, some of them are a little bit longer, that are not related to anything. But they might be, we'll see how they link in. So we'll dive into that. So when you're not working, mate, how do you like to spend your time?
When am I not working though? Yeah. I like to see my partner. I like to, can't see people. It's been different with lockdown. So I've had to troubleshoot different ways of satisfying my human needs and satisfying different like things. And I guess I love to read. I love to, in my free time, I love to, have baths. I love to have spa. A spa is really good. I love to, like practice my martial arts with people and really get it out, go for runs, swim in the ocean and get up at sunrise. Like I love getting up at 5 a.m., going to the beach and just running everywhere and screaming and getting in the water. Like I'm obviously very adrenalized, so I got to do that stuff. And I actually think most people need to start doing that stuff. Like just having time to be wild, like before we just sit down and be domesticated, right? So I do that. I like to do that in the morning and then, get into bed really at a good time. But I think, calling friends, there's not a lot to do in lockdown, man. So it's kind of like, it's kind of just like, okay, like the way I've treated this year and last year, like the first 24 months of my coaching, it's just about putting as much in, like really refining how I approach this and making it super powerful. Like COVID could happen. Whoops. It could happen forever. Like who knows how long this current world could be like this. So it's about using the time, right? Using the time well and just and being in the state of control that you can be, right? It's just like we don't have freedom to do a lot of things, but we have freedom to build. Like we have freedom to create a life, a beautiful life that when we finish. I was speaking to someone today and he's on alcohol and he wants to get sober. And I said, you can treat this time and come out of it. And he's on government benefits and they just cut it off. And I said, he's like, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. And I said, the main thing is you're wondering how. Like you're not questioning if, you're just saying how. And I said, I can take you there. I'm in your corner until it goes to an if. I can't help you, right? And I said, we can do this. I'm going to spend the time with you and I'm going to get you there. And that's the level of care and projection that we got to have. So he's spending his time and he's going to walk out of this whole global thing as a new man. And everyone that wants to do this can do it as well. Like it's
Dude, I couldn't agree more. I think there's a lot of positives that have come out of the times. One of the things I've noticed is the number of people that are getting out and getting fresh air and exercising outside is is peaking.
Yeah. And so many people at parks together and hanging out and coffee shops and you get one of those people that they have like they're covered but their eyes are burning with anger at everyone. But it's like just okay, that's all right. We'll let you be like that if you want. But everyone else is having a great time boogieing. It's great.
Mate, what are you currently reading?
Currently I'm I'm studying for the neuro-linguistic programming practitioner training. So I'm studying some NLP books, which is structure of magic. So this is me practicing what I've preached in before. I'm studying communication. Like I've got that. I've got Structure of Magic 1 and 2, which is by amazing authors who are, they just speak all about NLP. And because that's what I'm teaching, I need to be knowing it like the back of my hand if I'm going to be training people, right? And the reason I'm training people is because I want to know this stuff and be a master. So it pushes me to do that. So that's the whole thing about engineering your goals to make you master the things you think are most important. So yeah, that's what I'm reading. The Messy Middle, which was recommended by Luke. Not sure who that's by. And those are the only ones at the moment. Just three at a time. Three books. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. If you have, what was the first concert you attended?
the first concert. All right. It was an underage festival where we got super wild and we had a great time. Such a good time, like just with your mates and yeah, and dancing, and then the ladies was a good time too. And yeah, it was just a great electronic music, just getting wild. It's important. It's so important to get wild.
I love it. I love it. What is your favorite book of all time?
The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, which is really good for getting basic, like letting go of all of the. It's got like every aspect of life and just deep wisdoms about each aspect and how to treat it. Because I come from a very religious background, we had like a strong doctrine. So I gave that up because the doctrines weren't serving my expansion. So these are new doctrines that do serve where I want to be, where I want to go, and they're a really good cornerstone for me. And I think everyone should have something like that.
Totally, 100%. I love that, man.
Yeah.
This is a bit of an odd one. Is what's your favorite word?
Oh wow, favorite word. That is such an interesting question. My favorite word would be, I think the most important word is alive, being alive.
I
Right?
love it. I love it.
That is so important. Alive.
Yeah. First job.
Macca's.
Yes.
Worked at McDonald's. Yeah. Well, no, it was Subway, and I got fired from Subway because I was stuffing up the jobs, and I got fired, and I was like, what the hell? And then they fired me, and I was like, oh well, like I'll just go to another job, and then I went to another job, and I did really well there, but then I left there. That was Macca's, and yeah, and then I had a load of other jobs, and then then I was sick of working for people, and then I did super well. Some people's personalities aren't made for working for others. Some people's personalities are made for working either in teams or as leaders, or as some are for employing. There's nothing wrong with that. You just got to be honest with what your emotional response is while you're in those contexts, and
Totally.
trust that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So you've already, the next one's religious or spiritual. I'm actually interested to hear your response to this, even though you said you're religious.
Used to be, yeah.
Yeah. What do you classify yourself as now?
I believe in God, right? I believe in
Yep.
God. I like to use the word God because it's such a triggering word for a lot of people. And it's not just to piss people off, but I like to use evil mofo. No, I like to use the word God because it's it's like it's like a place inside. I just believe that God, I speak quite a lot of that conscious language, right? But I just think we're our own best role model. Heaven is a state of mind. It's a place inside. And we're just leading everyone else to that place as well. And anyone that doesn't want to come to the party doesn't have to, right? That's
Totally.
it. That's what I reckon.
100%. Yeah, I believe something very, very similar to that. So that's amazing. What's one thing you're excited about in 2022?
Oh, that next year? Yeah.
Yeah, I did for a second. I was like,
The years just merge. 2022, I'm going to turn 28. So I'm really excited. In astrology, it's a time where people's lives massively shift. So I'm very excited. Usually a lot of things fall apart. So I'm very excited for that. and I'm excited to, yeah, really step into more of presenting and just getting funky and weird and awesome on stage, and just opening people to that as a possibility in themselves. And I want to host stand-up next year. I want to host stand-up stage nights for people that are getting sober, and use it as like an MC, because I love freestyle rapping and stuff, telling stories. I want to be the MC, and then all the people are going to be able to come and perform their crafts, and I'm going to use it as a platform so that they can do that. And without knowing NLP and also NTT, I never would have thought I could do this, because I couldn't speak in front of anyone in high school speaking. And because of my reasons for doing this, I've been able to enter into the right?
Love that, man. Perfect. And what's your favorite song?
Favorite song is probably the Gladiator theme tune. It's not really a song, but it awakens something, you know. It's juicy. Have you ever heard it?
It gets you like your goosebumps going. You're
Yeah.
like, oh,
You're like, yes, let's do this. So that's my favorite.
I love it. I love it. And my favorite question. So yeah, it's a bit of a long one. If you were given a chance to explore the oceans, option one, option two, go to outer space, or option three, visit 50 different countries, which one would you choose and why? Oceans, space, or countries?
Ooh. Yeah, that's an interesting question, man. I think like,
It tells me something about your.
yeah. I would if we had like, or if I could create, or we had the engineering, I'd want to go out into outer space to see everything, as long as it was safe, right? And then as long as I knew I was good there. And then yeah, I'd love to do all those things. I want to do
Yeah.
all of that stuff. I'm afraid of going under the water like that, but I would still do it if I could, like if it was safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it, mate. Love it. Too easy. Well, where can people find you? I need to remember to do these things.
Yeah. You can find me on Facebook. You can find, I don't know if you want to put a link in the description. You can put
Yeah.
my like Facebook link there. That's about it, I think. If you want to connect there, you can connect on Facebook or Instagram. Like Instagram, I'll put my handle down there. And yeah, otherwise, I was just excited to just do this and have a chat. But yeah, if anyone wants to, they can from there. Or if you have people that want to give up alcohol or smoking and want to like become coaches, then you can also contact me through there as well, and we can chat.
I love it, mate. I love it. Very good, Ben. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the Student Spotlight. It's been fantastic. I honestly love doing these things. My cheeks are warm from smiling so much.
Yeah, release the lips, Callum. You got to release the lips.
Oh, it's great. It's great. It's great. And, to everyone tuning in, thank you again for tuning into Student Spotlight. Hope you got a lot out of it. And, reach out if we can help you out. And we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, thank you for having me.